In our previous episode, while everyone outside was practically losing their minds, our boy, meanwhile, was calmly grinding away in the corpse realm, farming Genesis Lightning and leveling up like it was just another Tuesday. Not only did he hit level 41, he also snagged a damaged Genesis Scepter. As the pair strode forward and reached the bone-melting zone, he realized the poison on the little skelly couldn't be cleansed. With no choice, Lin dismissed the summons, and he remarked they had to move fast, pointing out these creatures couldn't be killed, meaning dragging things out would only lead to more trouble. After reinforcing both of their skeletal armors, Lin ordered the rest of the skelly to push ahead. While they sprinted forward, the octopus kept ambushing them from hidden pools. Even when one tentacle got chopped, another beast immediately blocked the way. Meanwhile, the skeletal mages fired off synchronized elemental blasts, destroying a bunch of them, but it still wasn't fast enough. Without wasting time, Lin summoned his wings. Before Yao could even process what was happening, he had already scooped her up and was weaving through the forest of tentacles at neck-breaking speed. She clung to him with her eyes shut tight, and in no time they landed safely on the other side. Blushing furiously, she thanked him and admitted she was sorry for slowing him down. Lin simply replies, telling her it's fine, and while looking ahead, he tells her to wait there for a bit, adding that he has something else to handle. He dashed off toward a storm cluster he'd spotted nearby, raised the Genesis Scepter, and flew right into the middle of the lightning storm. In an instant, thunderbolts came raining down on him, but that was exactly what he wanted. System messages flooded in, informing him he was gaining Genesis Lightning and racking up 2 million XP per hit. And in no time, our boy successfully reached level 42. He remarks that the Genesis Lightning had given him 2 whole levels, but the scepter still wasn't fully repaired, and he wondered just how much lightning it would take. And more importantly, what exactly is this so-called Genesis Scepter? As if in response, the staff suddenly flared with light and flew out of his hands. A surge of energy burst forth, and Lin immediately realized this was an entrance to a secret realm. However, before he could react, it pulled him in. His vision was flooded with blinding light, and when he opened his eyes again, the foul stench of the corpse realm was gone. He noticed the air here was fresh, and the surroundings were full of life. He took a deep breath and marveled at how much better this place was. Upon learning it was the Genesis secret realm, his curiosity was instantly piqued. He wandered ahead and came across a grand garden with vines wrapped around marble columns, and just ahead stood a massive statue and what looked like a woman, seemingly holding something. Lin, perhaps realizing something, and quickly took out the scepter. To his surprise, it floated up and settled perfectly into the statue's hand. The scepter lit up, and just like that, the statue transformed into an actual person. The woman's voice was soft as she greeted Lin, identifying herself as the former goddess of life. His detection skill confirmed it, and he was surprised to see that she was an actual god, though he was confused about what she meant by former. She let out a sigh, and she remarked with a trace of sorrow that it had been ages since she'd seen such vibrant sights. And perhaps, she added wistfully, this might be the last time. Taking a few steps forward, she asks if Lin had witnessed the outside world. Then, almost as an afterthought, she reveals the shocking truth that the place wasn't always the corpse realm. It used to be the Genesis realm. She explains that another god destroyed her world, turning it into a land of death. She further reveals that he didn't just ruin the world, he also annihilated 3 entire races, killed her, and even brought about his own end. Lin was stunned hearing all this, and after a moment of reflection, he respectfully wondered how gods compared to the divine-level professionals of the human race. The goddess of life let out a light chuckle and explained that since they were called the divine level, then they did indeed belong to the same tier as actual deities. She went on to say that this also included abyssal demon lords as well as dragon kings. However, she points out that the gods also had their own hierarchy with 3 ranks in total. She herself had been a high-tier god, roughly equivalent to a level 97 divine-level professional. At first, Lin assumes the gods weren't as invincible as he once imagined, but then he remembered that his own teachers, including Meng Anwen, were all level 95, and that already put them at the peak of humanity. And yet just 2 levels higher might already be a gap too wide to cross. He asserted that perhaps even if the 3 of them joined forces, they might not match the goddess of life. Thinking about this, he couldn't even imagine how fierce that ancient war must have been, and yet, even beings like her had fallen. which left him craving to know what truly happened back then. Perhaps sensing his thoughts, the goddess glanced at the scepter and revealed that it all started with this very weapon. She explains she hadn't been born as the goddess of life, rather became one only after obtaining the Genesis scepter. That alone left Lin even more shocked, and it's hard for him to imagine that just a single weapon could make someone a god. It instantly reminded him rest of the Thanatos set he was still trying to find. The goddess thanks him sincerely for returning the scepter, because thanks to him, she could spend her final moments surrounded by blooming flowers, taking in their fragrance one last time. With a gentle gesture, the weapon began flowing, and she explained that the scepter core of life was still missing, and if Lin ever came across it, then the weapon could be restored to its full form. Just then, her body became more transparent and less stable, but she still wore a soft smile and remarked that while this was an item forged for gods, a human could also tap into its power, adding that if understood deeply enough, it might even help one step into the realm of the supreme divine. She admits her time was nearly up, but before vanishing completely, she wanted to give Lin one last gift. A warm, golden glow radiated from her as she gathered her remaining energy and condensed it into an artificial life core. She then states that since Lin had come this far and was able to restore the scepter energy, and arrived in this very place makes her believe that he was worthy of the Genesis scepter. As her body began to dissipate, Lin quickly asked if it was possible to bring her back in the future. A gentle voice echoed in response. She didn't say yes or no, only tells him that once he reaches the supreme divine, he'll know if that chance exists. Right then, the system chimed in informing him that the Genesis scepter now holds 3 charges, each delivering power equivalent to a level 90 divine level strength. Just as suddenly as it had appeared, the garden vanished, and with it, the entire secret realm. In the blink of an eye, our boy was yanked back into the corpse realm, where a sharp scream rang out. He spun around and spotted a massive tentacle crashing down toward Yao. He noticed her skeletal armor had vanished, and without hesitation, he recast a fresh layer over her, but the tentacle still struck, striking her hard into the ground. As the dust cleared, Yao stood up, looking a little shaken. But she's all right. She then looked up, seeing Lin flying towards her. He landed beside her and asked what had just happened, and she explained that the moment he vanished into the secret realm, she stumbled forward and accidentally discovered the exit. But guarding it were powerful dragons and demon corpses. Alarmed, Lin immediately asks where the exit is. Following her gesture, he saw the place right at the heart of the storm, where the lightning was at its most intense. Without a word, he scooped Yao up once more and charged ahead. She barely had time to react, only managing to warn that it's too dangerous to fly here. Lin was about to ask why when something lunged at them. He veered off just in time. Glancing upward, he was stunned to see a colossal dragon corpse. What unsettled him more was that his detection skill couldn't identify its level at all. He quickly accelerated toward the exit and remarked grimly that whatever level that thing was, it had to be above level 80. Which was completely out of his league. Behind them, the dragon's maw opened, and flames began to gather, and Yao quickly warned that it was the dragon's breath. Lin clenched his teeth, and all he could do now was stall for time. He summoned his rest of his skelly mid-flight and accelerated. Meanwhile, the skellies charged bravely, but the moment they touched the fire, nearly 100 were wiped out. A drop of cold sweat slid down our boy's forehead, and he had no idea how long he could keep this up. Then something even worse appeared in front of them. The thing was enormous with spikes covering its whole body and a hollow stomach, all the while looking horrifying. His detection spell revealed it to be a rotting demon, but once again he couldn't tell its level. The creature attacked instantly, slamming its massive body into the ground. The ground first cracked, then the entire terrain collapsed, and many skellies were instantly buried. Purple light flickered over their bodies, and the next moment they began exploding one after another. Within seconds, another 60 were gone. Lin realized the situation was spiraling, leaving him no choice, so he quickly activated Mighty Soldier. The buff only lasted 30 seconds, but it would drastically improve the Skelly's overall stats as well as its defense, and hopefully it's just enough to buy more time. At last, the two reach the exit only to find a magic array. Lin asks if Yao could open it, and she nods, but admits it would take some time. Meanwhile, our boy did what he could. Even with the buff, his skeletons were being shredded. With another round of attacks, 50 more were destroyed. Yao was trying her best, but she estimates she needed at least one more minute, and Lin mutters that they might not have that long, because just then, even more terrifying enemies appeared in the distance. Their numbers were growing and closing in fast. One of them let out a thunderous roar, and all of the monsters in the area surged toward the pair. Yao clenched her teeth, mentally begging herself to hurry and internally screaming at her to be faster, just a little faster. Just then, a massive hand came crashing toward Lin. He knew this was bad and was prepared to use the Genesis Scepter, but he only had 3 charges, and with so many enemies he didn't think it would be enough. Just when it seemed that our boy was done for, out of nowhere, a flash of sword energy sliced through the incoming hand, cleaving it clean in 2. A shadowy figure appeared in front of him, and when our boy looked up, he saw someone wearing armor and wielding a massive sword, with battle-worn robes, cracked armor, and a weapon riddled with fractures. But Lin was certain the man standing before him had to be a warrior of the human race.